why somebody from Canada, from Belgium, from France would go to the Middle East and join a fight in a country they weren't born in. And I'm wondering if that might also be a part of it. That, by that I mean that electronic media, that tribal notion, and that they're finding a belonging there that they're not able to find in a homogeneous culture, because the homogeneous culture doesn't really work. It isn't truly homogeneous.
To continue that thought, one of the things that we always support about the internet is that yes, you can find your own people, however remotely. You know, the small, the disappearing tale.
Right.
The idea that you could have 5 people interested in some obscure collecting thing or whatever it is, or some obscure hobby, or worse, whatever,
Right.
culprit and this. But you could still find your people, so you now have this other kind of tribalization across, you know, continents and across geographies, and maybe across time as well. But it's so
Okay.
I think we should be aware of that before we kind of get carried away with this beautiful, you know, global
Well,
village.
Dana Boyd says that in some ways the internet saved her life because it allowed her to find other lesbian women when
Yeah,
she felt
I mean,
terribly alone.
It can be to the good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm going to try and open it up widely if, for anyone who wants to. I just want to make one comment, though, that we notice that when you think of climate change and environment, really the issues are not climate and the environment. It's not trees and water and soil and clean air. It is people. The issues of environment are issues of people, and how they act and don't act, what they do and don't do. And what we know about people, which I think Renton was pointing out, is that we're not homogeneous, we're diverse. We're diverse in many senses, including culture. And it seems to me that cultural difference will exist whether we want it to or not. It will reflect itself either in a healthy or dynamic fashion, or in an aberrant fashion, such as the sectarian issues and the radicalization that we're seeing at the moment. Because cultures need to express themselves. It's wired in that we need to express ourselves. We have artists who are to some extent doing it for us. But it seems to me the issue of environment is an issue of people and their diversity, and whether or not, if we want to know environmental issues, we need to know who we are in our diversity, and we need to know the issues from the perspective of these different relatives and different cultures worldwide. My broad question is, there's ways to say, cultural diversity and its expression is akin to and as important as biodiversity and its expression. We pay attention to the biodiversity, we tend not to pay attention to the diversity of people and the importance of its expression and exercise, or it results in tensions and conflicts and lack of understanding. Anyway, that's a broad, sweeping statement, and I welcome a carry-on of discussion to bite into anything that's been said by anyone in the group so far.
Well, I'm gonna jump in,
Yeah.
because I'm not ready to jump in.
Very strictly.
I couldn't possibly do the question justice that I have half formed in my mind, and it may be a really dumb question too. But it would have to do possibly with the intersection between AI and politics, which indeed encompasses environmental questions, encompasses subsidies for fossil fuel industries, and so on. Now, our new Prime Minister has said, welcomed by me, and I'm sure a lot of others, that he would prefer an evidence-based process in government, and this certainly was different from his predecessor. And but evidence, of course, is a very fuzzy concept. You decide evidence about what, and how much weight does that evidence have compared to the weight of other evidence, and so on. So as I say, I'm not really doing this intersection justice, but nevertheless, I'm wondering if there are other people here who have wondered, let us say, to what extent could we bring this fantastic and growing power of computerization to bear on governance. So at least the more egregious idiocies, like you said, it's a no-brainer to stop subsidizing fossil fuel companies. Well, fossil fuel companies wouldn't exactly agree, but you might say that there could at least be more evidence-based decision-making about issues and problems and challenges locally, nationally, and globally. And I'm wondering, what promise is there that this could happen? So as not to embellish this inchoate question I'm raising, there's such a thing as power. There's such a thing as self-interest. And so if there's evidence-based or more evidence-based decision-making in government, that would run into huge interests, not excluding the fossil fuel industry, which is the largest that has ever been on the planet Earth. So is there any hope or promise? What might we look forward to by way of using this artificial intelligence that we collectively have somehow created, that has vast promise, but seems to be used or employed in a rather minimal way in addressing the major issues and problems and challenges that we face as a species, including the one you raised?
Nora, do you want to give the first response to that?
That's a really interesting question. I mean, I guess the thing that strikes me from a more skeptical stance is, first of all, that I think with the developments of AI, which has been really incredible, including some incredible work coming out of Jeffrey Hinton and people at UT, I mean, the progress has been remarkable, as you say, but I don't know that we have really that clear a handle on what it is for the sake of, right? I mean, when we look at, right now, it seems to be mostly for the sake of putting people at work, right? That seems to be a lot of what it's for the sake of. So I think that's the point. It's like the larger meta-level discussion of where are we directing the efforts in artificial intelligence and where can it be brought to bear is an important question. I also think there's and this is something we cover on Spark, that there's some reason to be skeptical about the notion that machine learning can simply be unbiased, because the kinds of data sets that are being fed into machine learning programs come from human beings with research agendas and all that kind of stuff.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, so we have to have a certain amount of skepticism about that. So that was my initial response. That those are two questions we need to deal with.
Just in response to your question now, I just learned on Sunday, quite incidentally, by way of attending the Royal Canadian Institute of Science weekly Sunday afternoon talk at the Medical Sciences Auditorium, and at which there was one notice among a number distributed concerning a forthcoming lecture that's going to be given, and it seems to me it really addresses your question, because now I don't remember all the details, the time and place, but it's the name of the lecturer, his last name is Hidalgo, and he's going to talk about the applications of various sorts of systems theory derived from biology and other disciplines towards increasing general prosperity. So, but this talk, as far as I can recall the notice, it really seems to address your question, because I mean, I'm not absolutely sure that he's going to be making use of artificial intelligence, but I think probably. But he seems to have an idea as to applying it to a very definite end of, improving the conditions of human existence. And I mean, it does mention prosperity, which doesn't mean all that much to me. But so maybe that responds to your question in a way.